coffee. It's that hug in a cup that most of us look forward to in the morning, but for some people it is very triggering to our nervous system. I believe it's really important to include coffee in a healthy way. So I'm going to talk about how you can do that and what some tips and tricks are to help you to get the best out of your coffee. First tip is to stick to just one coffee per day. So that would be 1 shot of espresso or a small cup from a cafe. As an example, a medium cup of coffee from a cafe is usually 2 shots of espresso, and a large cup is usually 3 shots of espresso. So if you're having multiple coffees per day and they're medium cups or large cups, you could be having 6 standard cups of coffee per day. So try and really cut that back. I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can do that. But the first thing I'll say is if you are used to having multiple cups of coffee per day, decaf coffee might be a good alternative. So have your first coffee with 1 shot of espresso and then have a decaf coffee, and just try and pull back the amounts of coffee you're having, just to try and break that habit. I never recommend having coffee after 12 o'clock in the day. Ideally, if you can have your cup of coffee done by 11 o'clock in the morning, it's going to just help to get it out of your system by the time it comes to bedtime. We may not feel the effects of coffee around that time, but it can impact on our ability to fall asleep. And some of us are actually genetically slow metabolizers of coffee, which means that when you drink caffeine, the caffeine stays in your system for a lot longer than fast metabolizers. So even though you may not feel the effects, it can still have an effect on your sleep. So if you are a slow metabolizer of caffeine, if you drink your coffee at say 11 o'clock, it's going to stay in your system for hours more than someone whose liver can clear coffee out more quickly. And this is probably the most important one. Always have food in your stomach when you have coffee. Try and have it with your meal so you've got a good amount of protein, fats, and fiber. And never have coffee on an empty stomach. That can be even more triggering to your nervous system and be even more triggering to those stress hormones. If you usually have coffee in the morning before breakfast, it can be an appetite suppressant. So make sure you're having coffee after breakfast. Have your breakfast first and then have your coffee, or just drink your coffee alongside your main meal. If you don't like having coffee that early in the morning, have it with morning tea. So have some nuts and seeds or a nut ball or a bliss ball or something that's a bit substantial to have alongside your coffee. I've just noticed time and time again with my clients that coffee on an empty stomach not only triggers the nervous system, for many people it impacts on their blood sugar levels. It can cause a spike in blood sugar. So that's another reason why I always say have it with food in your stomach. So it's going to help stabilize that and prevent that blood sugar spike. Drinking coffee or tea or caffeine can increase urination, so we lose a lot of hydration when we drink those types of drinks. But with the hydration and the fluid loss, we're also losing really important nutrients. So those main nutrients that we're losing are magnesium, iron, calcium, and B vitamins. If you have low iron, this can make it even worse, and make sure you take any iron supplements away from coffee by at least about 2 hours. But that's just another reason why we want to limit our coffee or caffeine intake, because we don't want to lose too many of those very important nutrients from our body. Coffee alternatives. So I've already mentioned decaf coffee is probably the best one to start with, and make sure you're getting a naturally decaffeinated coffee, which is through the water method or the Swiss water method. Just ensure that it's naturally decaffeinated. It is usually advertised on the packaging. The caffeine is removed from a lot of decaf coffees with a chemical, which is not very good for us. So try and get naturally decaffeinated coffee. Dandelion root coffee and chicory. So that tastes very similar to coffee. And because it's caffeine free, you can have that at any time of day that you like. You could try a hot cacao or a hot cocoa, make that yourself with some coconut milk or almond milk, a little bit of stevia. It would be delicious. It's just a really nice pick-me-up. There's a teeny bit of caffeine in there, but it's not very much. Or some other options could be some herbal tea, like peppermint tea is really uplifting and can give you a little bit of an energy boost, or some sparkling water, or some fresh juices, some fresh vegetable juices. Beetroot juice in particular is really good for energy, or you could have a nice cool smoothie. If you're currently drinking more than 1 cup of coffee per day and you want to cut back, some ideas include making sure each cup of coffee just has 1 shot of espresso. So if you're having double shots, just start having 1 shot in your coffee, because it's going to overall reduce how much you're having. Or if you're having a couple of cups of coffee per day, try and replace that 2nd or 3rd cup with a coffee alternative. If you're buying large cups of coffee from a cafe, try and get the smallest cup. Or another tip would be to bring your coffee earlier in the day, making sure you do have it with breakfast. You might find that that helps to stabilize your energy levels more throughout the day, so you don't need those extra cups. Last but not least, coffee withdrawal symptoms can be quite awful to deal with, so just keep an eye on things. You may get some headaches or a bit of fatigue. You should not be concerned about any symptoms that you're having though. So if you do experience any symptoms that are concerning or anything that you are really concerned about, please go and see your doctor straight away. You don't want to be thinking that it's just coffee withdrawal symptoms that you're having when something else could be going on. All right, so reduce your coffee intake to aim for 1 shot of espresso per day. It's going to make a huge difference in the way that you feel.